Accounts by eyewitnesses and abductees almost invariably refer to the ability of extraterrestrials to communicate telepathically with humans. This astounding ability seems to extend to disembodied messages received by astronauts when deep within the terrifying abyss of outer space. Here we try to understand what this means for our future connections with otherworldly beings. UF researcher Paul Stonehill has described in his writings what he calls the whisper in space. The term refers to when Soviet cosmonauts receive what they reported as information in their brains or souls that was valid and logical, but came from nowhere. Stonehill's evidence came from a witness who requested anonymity due to the precarious tenure of Russian astronauts should any sign of instability be detected. Stonehill has called him Cosmonaut X, who stated that the so-called legends of previous Soviet cosmonauts never reported to the administration or even doctors through fear of exclusion from the space program were found to be true. Cosmonaut X explained to Stonehill that he and a flight engineer were aboard a Soviet spacecraft flying above the southern hemisphere when the whisper came to both of them. The men, both atheists, simultaneously had a sense of being sternly observed by an invisible being sitting next to them and staring into their backs. Comparing notes later, both felt the whisper coming from the depths of their consciousness, although with differing message content. The whisper told Cosmonaut X a very personal family story about his great-grandfather, as if to establish an intimate credibility. Both cosmonauts felt the alien presence through their orbit, and the whisper even returned once they were back on Earth. The main message of the whisper was clear, that there is some kind of higher alien intelligence who is determined to prevent humans from exploring outer space. To quote Stonehill, it was telling them, "Get away from here. You are not developed yet enough to be here in space. You are not grown up yet." These reports, and those from other Russian cosmonauts, remain a state secret to this day. There were also rumours that a similar phenomenon was experienced by the Apollo astronauts. Stonehill has uncovered that they were told to get away and stay away, and that their sense was that these beings could look into our souls. But maybe humans also taken their advice, given that there's not been a moon landing since 1972. Sergeant Clifford Stone is an ex-US Army official who is now suggesting that this advice is good. He served 22 years working with an elite and clandestine operation which was mobilised to UFO crash sites under instruction to recover debris which included extraterrestrial craft, technology and biological remains. His unique background and personal experience have made him a highly informed expert on alien technology and the history of extraterrestrial contact. Stone's unit originated with General Douglas MacArthur, who initiated a group called the Interplanetary Phenomena Research Unit back in 1943 to investigate extraterrestrial visitations, and it has continued to this day. There was at the time physical evidence of interplanetary visitors, some called Foo Fighters, who were actually observing the battles of World War II, and MacArthur believed that we needed to know more about them if they posed a threat to humanity. Stone's mission began in the late 1960s, where he had close contact with downed extraterrestrial craft and one-on-one interactions with non-human life forms, including living survivors. His day would involve following up leads of interest, including the investigation of various vessels which did not originate from Earth but came from deep space. As a first responder, he would communicate telepathically with an alien crash casualties, keeping them alive until medical help arrived and ensure they were removed to safety. He developed a vast knowledge of extraterrestrial life forms and over his time of service catalogued 57 alien species with care instructions for those finding any live occupants inside downed alien craft. He also learnt that the mode of travel for UFOs is not in keeping with human understanding of aerodynamics and propulsion. Stone has stated that when they first started to come here, we were saying it was impossible because we would see them going at 7,000, 9,000 miles per hour, and there was no sonic boom. He claimed that we are now aware that their vehicles displace time-space using antimatter propulsion through traversable wormholes. He became aware that an alien's journey from a star system of 100 light years away will only take about an hour and 40 minutes. Stone has further claimed that the retrieval of these extraterrestrial artifacts has enabled the US government to achieve dramatic advancements in science and technology, potentially for the betterment of humankind, should the revelations be made public. He claims that both the US and German military have attempted to reverse engineer the mechanisms they uncovered, with mixed results. As an example of the astonishing technology achieved by these visiting alien groups, Stone has given an account of a 1973 incident in Augusta, Georgia, where he was able to enter a marooned alien craft. The physical external body of the vessel measured approximately 35 feet in diameter, but on entering, Stone found it to be much larger inside. A literal TARDIS. His 100-foot measuring tape was too short to traverse the length of the center chamber, leading to his realization that there may be multidimensional realities within the craft. He has expressed concern that members of the team could not be adequately briefed about the hazards of handling the very objects they retrieved, due to lack of knowledge about the materials of which they were made and processes by which they'd been produced. In one case, investigators simply touched a piece of debris only to completely disappear. Another concern was possible contamination due to unknown biological phenomena. Stone has publicly stated that he was detained for 2 months when he informed the military of his intention to resign. There were fears about his experiences reaching the public domain. He had spent over 2 decades interacting almost on a daily basis with beings from other solar systems and had amassed a huge knowledge base about non-human life forms. However, rather than seeing himself as a public threat, Stone has used this knowledge to gain exceptional insight and an enlightened approach to our dealings with these species, most of whom he describes as good beings who wish to help us, or at least not interfere. While emphasizing that they are not hostile towards us, he has expressed his concern about a hostility towards them and what he calls the militarization of space. Space and missile defense consultant Dr. Carol Rosen is a former corporate manager of Fairchild Industries. She founded the Institute for Security and Cooperation in Outer Space in Washington, D.C., and has testified before Congress many times about space-based weapons. She has been privy to high-level strategizing in relation to fabricating a supposed extraterrestrial threat, so-called false flag operations, as an untruthful rationale for developing space-based weapons systems. She has publicly stated, "When I hear that there is a possible threat of extraterrestrials, and I look at the history of thousands of years of possible ET visitations, and hear the disclosures of honest military intelligence industry people who have had experience with UFOs, with crashes and landings, with live and deceased remains of extraterrestrial beings, I know it is a lie. The extraterrestrials have not taken us away yet. We are still here after thousands of years of visits. If in fact they are still visiting us now, and we have not been harmed, then we have to look at this as something that is not a hostile occurrence." Clifford Stone believes that human interstellar travel will happen sooner than we think. NASA has estimated that it will take another 1,400 years before we achieve it, but Stone conjectures that it will occur by the end of this century. However, Stone believes that the extraterrestrials will prevent us from exploring the depths of outer space until we, as a species, have learned to grow spiritually. He believes that they are rightfully concerned about our reactions to and treatment of them. They've met with a hostility, such as occurred on February 26, 1942, an event now referred to as the Battle of Los Angeles. Around 15 to 20 unidentified craft were detected flying over Los Angeles. The human response was an immediate attempt to shoot these objects down. The 37th Coastal Artillery Group discharged 1,430 ammunition rounds, and the military set out to try to discover a hypothetical hidden base from where the craft had come. Unsuccessfully, as none existed. A warning to humans has also been revealed in a leaked email from Apollo 14 astronaut Dr. Edgar Mitchell. Remember, our non-violent extraterrestrial intelligence from the contiguous universe are helping us bring zero-point energy to Earth. They will not tolerate any form of military violence on Earth or in space. Since his retirement, Stone has committed himself to urging a rational disclosure process whereby human fears are placated with the evidence. Having scoured government archives and amassed a huge private collection of authentic government documents relating to UFOs and extraterrestrials, he wants a release of all relevant information, which shows that intelligent life has been visiting our planet and influencing our decision makers for a long time. He is wanting world governments to gently educate humans about the existence of otherworldly species and the reasons for their reluctance to allow us to venture into deep space. He believes that the extraterrestrials may make themselves known to us soon if we don't first acknowledge their presence and make efforts to foster a more peaceful attitude towards them. And if not, they will make their presence felt in order to prevent us from weaponizing space. He says, "I want my message to be one of enlightenment and hope for a new beginning and a brighter future. Yes, they're here. They're not hostile. They're very spiritually and technologically evolved. They mean no harm to us."